Cheers. Hello, my name is Caitlin. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, so is literally everyone else because this is my first video. So as you can tell by the thumbnail, I'm going to be talking a lot about my skincare journey, what was kind of like a game changer for me. And so I'm gonna give you a little bit of context because that is always helpful. I will have down in the description kind of like timestamps. So if you don't care about the context, then you can go right to the point. So growing up, I really didn't have any problems with acne or any kind of skin thing at all. The whole skincare routine used to be me just using like a Neutrogena, I think like face wipe. And it dried the crap out of my face. Like I just remember thinking, oh, I'm just gonna, and I also didn't wear makeup at the time. I didn't start wearing makeup until college. So literally nothing was really happening with my face. So I would just use these wipes because I saw everyone else, had a skincare routine. So I would use it. And I remember it would dry the frick out of my skin. And then I would be like, oh, my face is clean. So many questions. It wasn't until college that my skin really started freaking out. And so I remember just kind of getting like, is it? And then another one. And I was just thinking, oh, this is weird. Like 2 back to back or whatever. And then sure enough, before I knew it, I was dealing with full on acne around my mouth. Mine was hormonal acne. You can look up a face map online and kind of see different parts of your face. And like if you have reoccurring acne over and over again on certain parts of your face, it very well could be that your body is trying to tell you something. So my hormones were all messed up. I didn't know that at the time. I really didn't know anything about any kind of skincare or anything with acne because I had never dealt with it. I was so insecure about it, which I'll talk about in a second. But that's kind of the context to kind of help you understand where I was when I talk about these next 4 points. So number one, I really had to learn how to practice self-compassion. And there is an extra emphasis on practice. These years that I had acne, which it felt like as soon as I got rid of 1, 2 more, which would come up, it was ongoing, it was chronic. And like I said, I was deeply insecure about it, right? So I remember wanting to hide all the time in the sense of like, anytime I was talking to anyone, I just remember like looking down and like fiddling with something or writing something or just having any excuse to not make eye contact, just so to lower the chances of them looking at my face and potentially being like, what is going on with this girl's face? No one was probably thinking that. I had wonderful people. I do have wonderful people in my life. But that was kind of like the way that I thought. Like, I also just remember wanting to get home so bad, just to feel the peace of like, no one can see me right now. Which may sound dramatic. And if you've never struggled with acne, you probably don't understand this and you're like, whoa, chill out. But if you have struggled with acne, you probably know and have felt maybe some sense of like, I mean, dang, it's on your face. This is what people are looking at. It's what it's how you communicate to people. And so it can be extremely hard and extremely difficult. And I just remember being so aware all of the time about what was happening on my face. Like this is going down, there's another one coming up and I've got to try to tackle it, and now I have a scar. And just all of the time everything was like, how can I get this acne to stop? How can I clear up my face? And so I became super obsessed with like my diet, my skincare. I had basically built my life around trying to fix myself essentially, right? So this is where self-compassion comes in. And what I mean by that is that I had become so obsessed with trying to fix myself that like, I didn't even realize for a long time that I had a terrible relationship with myself. Like I was so mean to myself. I just remember being so anxious all of the time because it was like, oh my gosh, another zit is coming up and feeling anxious about that. And oh my gosh, like, life is happening and I'm at a birthday party and there's all this food, but I can't eat it because I can't eat dairy and I can't eat this and I can't eat that. And because it's going to give me acne. And so like, I can't afford the food that I want to eat because I want to buy $7 cheese that's dairy free and whatever. So I'm just giving some kind of examples, but I had created these strict guidelines for myself of like, I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to fill in the blank. Like, and so I kind of created this context where I was constantly thinking about myself in a really negative way on how I can fix myself. And this was just kind of my operating system for a long time, right? And I didn't even recognize most of the time that this was happening. I was just thinking like, I've got to do whatever I can to get this off my face. I also didn't realize how high stakes I had made it, and just thinking like, I have this acne on my face. No one is ever going to want to date me. I'm never going to be able to be confident enough to do anything in life that I want to do. Like, I have all of these dreams and I have all of these things, but I'm so insecure about my face. But the only way that I can get confident is if I get this off my face. And so it was so high stakes. And so everything in my life depended on me getting this acne off my face, which again sounds really dramatic, and a lot of it was not conscious thought. It was just, this is how I was operating. Like, and so back to the self-compassion. And I just remember this window where I became aware of like, dang, I'm kind of mean to myself. Like, I really don't give myself space to like be a human and have human things going on. And I say it was a window because this is just where I became aware, right? Like, I became aware I'm mean to myself, but I really didn't have the courage yet to like go against the grain of what felt normal to me. And I honestly didn't even really know how. And then I just remember one day I just thought, okay, I'm gonna try to just speak to myself differently. So that's what I started doing. I started catching my thoughts where it's like, oh, here we go, here comes another zit, and started brainstorming about how I can avoid eye contact. And I just started stopping myself and being like, it's okay, like, you're just a human. And to me, at that point, that was compassion. Like, that was so much compassion for myself, of just giving myself permission to be a human. And that was kind of my starting point. So I started doing that. I started to kind of interrupt the narrative that was so normal in my head. And even though I didn't necessarily feel like groundbreaking or like super dramatic results, I really started building something with myself. And I just remember being on the treadmill one day and I'm like running, and I just remember speaking to myself, not out loud because I was in a public gym, which if I did, whatever. But I was just thinking in my head, like, I am going to love you, Caitlin, even if you have acne on your face for the rest of your life. And I'm going to love you, Caitlin, even if you are never able to get into the shape that you want to get into. And I'm going to love you, Caitlin. And I just started kind of like listing out all the things that I was terrified about. Like, what if I do have acne on my face for the rest of my life, which is so ridiculous, but that's kind of the way that I was thinking. And, or what if, you know, I'm never going to get into the shape, or no one's ever going to, and whatever, fill in the blank. The things that I was most afraid about, I started to like speak to those things to myself and being like, I'm going to choose you and I'm going to love you, Caitlin, even if those things happen. And man, something really started shifting, right? It had definitely taken me a minute to get to this point. And some of you may be like, girl, what? Like, this is how I talk to myself all the time, which is great. And some of you may feel like that you can never get to a point where you could like talk to yourself in that way. And that's okay. Like I said, it took me a while, and compassion for me at the beginning looked like just being like, it's okay. You have a zit, you're a human. And like I said, I was building something with myself, right? So down here, I'm like, you're a human. And then I started doing it more and more and more. And then I got to a point where I'm like listing out my greatest fears, and I felt the courage to do that. And that was the biggest game changer for me, right? Like, when I started repairing the relationship with myself, and I started talking to myself and giving myself permission to be a human and to love on myself and to really speak unconditional love over myself in very specific ways, I started to feel the biggest shift. I started to feel anxiety lift off of me. I just remember feeling lighter. Things were way less high stakes in my brain. And so when things did come up on my face, eventually I remember just feeling like, because I still get acne, right? I'm still human. It's definitely not near as bad as it used to be. And so now I'm at a place where it comes up and I'm like, I'm a human, whatever, right? Like, do I want it on my face? No. Why would I want that on my face? But it's no longer dictating how I show up, how I interact with people. Number two is that I really had to be patient with myself. This like instant gratification generation that we live in, where we can kind of get things when we want them, as we want them. It was not an overnight thing. And so me giving patience for the journey and grace for myself to actually like go on a journey was really big. I remember giving myself those compassionate comments at first, and I liked how it made me feel. So I decided I'm just going to keep doing it and see what happens. And I think that's what kind of gave me courage to stick with it and to be patient and to realize, okay, there's a lot that needs to be repaired here, quite literally rewiring my operating system. So yeah, just be patient with yourself. Like, when I had the realization of like, okay, I'm not going anywhere. I am with me forever. Like, no matter what context in life I take myself in, say that I even have clear skin and I have everything that I could have ever wanted, the inner world is still going with me, right? So no matter what, I think I became, this is an issue, and it's worth it for me to go on a journey to actually mend this broken relationship that I had with myself. Now, number 3 is I really slowed down and focused on actually listening to my body. I would have said all day, every day, listen to your body, you gotta listen to your body. But yet here I was, when my body was trying to speak to me, I was like, no, you're gonna follow my plan because I've researched this, and this person says this, and this is what we're doing to get rid of the acne. So whatever you have to say, shh. Again, obviously not a lot of this was conscious, but this is kind of the way that I was living. And so I really started to slow down, listen to my body, eat when I'm hungry, don't work out if I'm flipping tired, and I've been doing it for the past 4 days, like whatever it looked like. And this was honestly just another way of showing myself like compassion with my actions. And so I think it's really easy to be like motivated and to see different people like talking about different things and being like, that's a good idea, I'm gonna try it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I love trying new things, I love learning and seeing what works for me. But the difference now is I wasn't going to try to force my body and like who I was into this box of what I thought was going to be my solution and my answer. And I now just take steps, start seeing if that's working for me. And if it's not, then just have the capacity and the ability to like shift and to do something different and to figure out what works for me, and kind of really being able to understand this whole like one size doesn't fit all. There is no one diet, there is no one skincare routine, there is no one thing that works for everyone across the board. So kind of having the liberty to go on like this trial and error like journey with my body and figuring out what works for me, with the ultimate goal of listening to my body and giving it what it needs in that way. And number 4 is I was extremely intentional about nurturing my identity outside of what I looked like, outside of how my skin was doing, how my body was doing in terms of like what it, like, was I in shape or not? And I started to nurture my identity in something that was unshakable, that was not changing. And that's a whole different video, but I was really intentional about that because for a long time, that is what my identity was. Everything was riding on that. Like, was I able to go a full week or a day without having acne so then I could be confident and have, relationships and conversations and blah, blah, blah. Like I mentioned before, everything was super high stakes because my identity was so wrapped up in what I looked like and how I thought people were going to perceive me. And so I started to become more aware and realizing like I have to nurture my identity outside of that. There's nothing wrong with caring about what you look like, wanting to feel beautiful, wanting to feel attractive. I think it's in us to actually desire that. And so there's nothing wrong with it, but it's such a fragile identity. So yeah, if you relate to this in any way, even if it doesn't have to do with acne, I would say find ways that you feel like you can be compassionate to yourself and how you speak to yourself. I'm saying compassion for a reason instead of self-love. Obviously, self-love is included in this and it's very important. But compassion felt more of like a tangible way for me, at least, and practical. It doesn't even have to be something super groundbreaking. It's just what feels compassionate to you, right? So my compassionate thought at the beginning was, you have permission to be a human, and that did something for me. So yeah, whatever feels compassionate to you, you practicing that is never going to be in vain. It may not feel like everything in your life shifts in one moment, but you are building something with yourself. And you may be like, what's up with like, why was it hormonal? And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was in like, I had chronic anxiety all of the time. Cortisol levels were really high, as well as I had myself on such a strict diet because I was trying to like fix everything that was happening. I think that really messed with my hormones as well, right? Like I had taken out entire food groups just for the sake of like seeing if it would work, and I was constantly changing my diet as well. So I think with those factors, that's why it was like manifesting as hormonal acne. And I really do believe that the anxiety and the war that I was in with myself was like manifesting on my skin and on my body. And so when those things started to shift and I was able to be more light and to enjoy life more, that's when I started to see the biggest difference on my face. So I hope that all made sense and that if you can relate to it, I hope that it was helpful for you. I kind of wanted to like put in this video things that I wish I would have known when I was in my journey or when I was beginning my journey. And you'll also notice that I I didn't talk about my skincare routine. I didn't talk about my diet. It's not because those things don't matter and those things don't affect it. I'm still very much into finding a diet that works best for me and what my body needs, as well as my skincare routine. I'm all about it. My husband said it in his vows to me that he vowed to listen to my skincare routine for the rest of his life because I love it. It's like a hobby of mine. So I will make videos about that. I do love all of those things. And those things do matter. But I really wanted to make a video first about what was the biggest shift in my journey with my skin. And so let me know in the comments if this was helpful for you and or if you have any specific questions or video requests. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and follow me on Instagram. My handle is @__Caitlin Holland, and I will see you next time.